You're listening to Real Folk with me, Jo Burke.
Hello and welcome everyone to, we're not at Custard HQ today. This is by the magic of Zoom. And my guest today is the brilliant and talented therapist and author, Alison Knowles.
You know, you say the nicest things, Jo.
How many Ollie books have you written now?
Hello. I've got to think about that one. That's a worry, isn't it? I think there's six and a half.
And we'll go on to have a chat about those. But what's your background? Obviously, I know that you're a therapist. Did you want to be a therapist when you left school? Was that what you wanted to do?
No, not at all. I left school really early because I can't read and write. So school was fun, shall we say.
Because of dyslexia?
Yeah, but it wasn't diagnosed. I mean, everybody kept calling me stupid and I absolutely believed them for many, many years.
Well, that's really interesting because my brother, he's 60 next year, and he had exactly the same thing. And he was, unfortunately, back in those days, he was put into remedial classes. And so he got very, very bored and he basically left school at 15 of his own accord. So it's such a shame that went undiagnosed for so many years for so many people.
You know, isn't it? It's funny how things turn out, isn't it? Because for many years before Ollie and therapy, yeah, it was a huge chip on my shoulder. But now I actually realise it was the best thing that could have happened to me. Ollie wouldn't exist if I could read and write. Yeah.
And so how did you overcome that? What employment did you get straight from school if you left early? And how did your sort of life pan out?
The only employment I could get was sales jobs. So I used to do a lot of commission-only work because I didn't have an education, so nobody took me seriously. But I ended up working for construction companies in sales and marketing. Did quite well for myself. So I spent a good 10, 15 years blowing buildings up.
That sounds like fun.
It was, especially if I got it right. Obviously, my dyslexia was a problem. They'd send you out in the morning and say 131. Which what?
It's gone. We've done the wrong building.
Actually, never happened, but yeah.
Gosh, can you imagine? That's quite the responsibility, isn't it?
Yeah, fortunately, it wasn't my responsibility. They kind of worked out I'm probably not trusted with very much, so that was all right.
And so what was after that then?
I did that for years and years because I thought I can't do anything else. And it gave me the nice car, the salary, the smart suits. I could hold my head up with my peers, something I'd never been able to do because of my reading and writing. And then I got made redundant, not once, but 3 times. Talk about the universe saying, Ali, you need to change direction. At that point, my partner said, well, look, you've got this time. You can go back into a job you didn't really enjoy, or you can try and do something you do. And I thought, well, I want to be a psychologist, but they won't have me because I can't read and write. So I just did some courses just to get rid of the time, really. So I did hypnotherapy, a couple of others. And I thought, wow, you know, all that stage stuff's probably rubbish but this is actually really powerful and I'm good at it. And it kind of took off from there, really.
So hypnotherapy was your first qualification then?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a company called the Quest Institute. Anyone thinking about doing therapy, hypnotherapy, to help people with emotional issues, seriously have a look at them. Brilliant guy, Trevor Sylvester. I sort of got through that. My friends had to get me through the written side because I really couldn't do it. And at that point, I decided that's it. I'm going to be a therapist. I'm going to heal the world. So I said to my partner, I want an office in Harley Street and a BMW with, you know, Therapy 1 written on it. My partner, knowing me as well as she does, and I don't stick at things, said, you can have a hut in the garden and a moped.
Well, you know, there's always a compromise.
Well, I've still got the hut in the garden, but the moped came to a bitter end.
Oh, that's hilarious. But I love that story though, because part of the reason I'm doing these podcasts is that so often people think that they have to start everything perfectly, and that you know, if you don't get exactly what you want straight away, you're a failure. But you know, that is hilarious. I love the fact that it was a hut and a moped.
Yeah, still got me hut.
Exactly, it works. Everyone's got a hut now. That's the thing, isn't it? They're very on vogue.
Yeah. But no, it is fascinating, and I think from that point on, I began to recognise that when your path gets blocked, rather than taking it as an absolute negative of, you know, the universe is against you, it's not blocked you, it's just trying to gently nudge you in the right direction for you. And if somebody had told me I'd be doing this now, 10, 15 years ago, absolutely no way. But I'm living the dream. I'm doing my dream job.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important lesson. And it's the quicker you can learn that, the better you are mentally, I think, as well, isn't it? Because,
Yeah.
you know, it is that old adage that used to be put, well, you know, one door closes, another one opens. That's another way of looking at it. But it really is. And I think if you listen to that and let the world sort of guide you, because otherwise you just end up so frustrated banging at doors that are not going to open, when, you know, if you just look to your left or right or up or down, there's one that's swung wide open waiting for you to walk through.
And the interesting thing is that the majority of people that are waiting for that door to open, it's probably a door that they think they should walk through because, and that's all about, you know, where they grew up, their reality tunnel, what's expected of them. And very, very rarely is it, I actually want to do this. And it's lovely when it is. But I think when the door doesn't open, it's because you maybe need to address why you want it to in the first place. It's such a sad state. I mean, I work with young and old as a therapist, but, you know, I listen to the youngsters, the teens, and they're, well, I must do this and I must do that because that's what you do to fit in and belong. So I become something I can be put in a box and managed. And I hate that. You know, I'm a bit of a rebel. I'm like, no, ask questions, kick against it.
Yeah.
So you're out there on your own and you don't fit in. Don't be afraid of that. Celebrate it.
I agree. And I think that's one of the things that I've enjoyed about lockdown on a purely physical level, the fact that nobody could get to hairdressers or anything for like 3 months or 4 months. I love that all of a sudden people actually looked individual. They had long hair or grey hair or curly hair, and it's like, oh wow.
I think it was a really interesting time because all of a sudden you couldn't hide behind the mask of my perfect makeup or hair.
Exactly.
And we got to see people, and the beautiful thing is it took them a while, but people began to go, do you know what, this is me and it's okay.
Yeah, and I like it.
First and last time in their life they'll ever do that. What a shame.
It's been one of those experiences where hopefully enough people will have had enough time to realise that actually these things don't matter and reassess what does.
You've got to kind of hope that, haven't you? I mean, you know, nobody's got a good word to say about what's going on in our country at the moment and COVID generally. But, do you know, it depends. You'll see what you want to see. So, I mean, take us with Ollie. When COVID hit, it was like, that's it, our company's going down. Because we're not, you know, we're not valid or whatever the latest political words are for companies that don't make the government money. And we're very face-to-face, so we couldn't work in schools, couldn't work with clients, and I thought it's going to go down. But a weird thing happened just before COVID kicked off. I went on a bit of a spending spree, much to the annoyance of my partner, and I brought a load of film equipment. So it was like, well, we've got two choices. Ollie goes down or we put the whole damn thing online, but we can't get to a studio because of da-da-da-da. And I've got all this film equipment. So we put Ollie online, and it's probably the best thing we've ever done. But without COVID, I'd never have done it. And yet it has given us so many more opportunities. So, you know, the COVID was a hell of a storm and it knocked us off course. But if it hadn't have done, I wouldn't have found this really cool island that we're on now.
The reason I'm doing the podcasts is exactly the same reason. And I wouldn't be doing these if it wasn't for the fact that I can't go out and meet people and do acting and performing and comedy and all the things that I love doing and are trained to do. But I don't want to say goodbye to all of those things either, because I think, as I'm sure you will with what you do with Ollie, and we'll discuss exactly what that is in a sec, you know, you need face-to-face, you need interaction. That's the whole point. We need it for our own mental welfare.
But that's a massive subject, isn't it? I mean, yeah, everybody in the entertainments and business at the moment, I don't think people realise what a huge thing's happening there, because people aren't working, and not just the big names, but the guys that sweep the floors, hold the cameras. Nobody's got any work. All the technicians, and the truth is that we're very social creatures, and we love art, and we love theatre, and we love music. And if we can't have that, then we become robots.
Exactly.
And you know, we go on about what should be supported and funded at the moment. Well, we need that freedom. We need that space to escape, that place to use our imagination. That's got to be more healthy for us than any blimmin' pills for depression. So I reckon, Jo, get money behind you guys and get it all open up again ASAP.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And everyone is doing the best they can. I mean, almost all of the people that I know that are comedians or performers are doing something like yourselves. You know, you were just forced to think outside of the box and outside of what you would normally be doing to try and continue to create. As you've just said, you know, stories are hugely important and communication is key. And I've always said, you know, there's a reason that solitary confinement is a punishment, you know. We're not supposed to be on our own. We're not. And stories are, you know, stories go back centuries before you could even speak. There were stories on cave walls. To take away the ability for the human race in 2020 to not tell their stories and to not communicate is just pretty awful, really.
I think it's quite sinister personally, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
we need it. We need that escapism right now because we haven't got much else to look forward to. And, you know, we're all turning to Netflix and other TVs obviously exist just to escape, lose ourselves in a good film. But there is nothing better than laughing with a group of people, listening to music with a group of people, feeling that vibe, feeling that oneness, and that we are part of something bigger than this mess. It's got to be opened up again and funded.
Hopefully that'll happen, but who knows? Who knows? So we talked briefly there about Ollie. Now, listeners, you may wonder, who is this Ollie we speak of? Ali, do you want to sort of give our listeners a little lowdown on what you did with Ollie?
Well, as I said, I trained to be a therapist, so I did hypnotherapy, and I trained in other therapies with a lot of help on the written work side from friends and family. So I did CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, which is the one that, you know, CAMH, children and young people's mental health, NHS push you towards, Ali, bad Ali, send you to. It was a slip of the tongue, or was it? And so I'm doing all that, right, in my hut with my moped. But it dawned on me that every therapy that I trained in required that I put people in boxes and that I gave them a label. Because if I didn't have a box and a label, how would I know what page to turn to in my big book of scripts to heal you if I didn't know? So for example, if you came along with anxiety, I'd know to go to page 35 because that's about anxiety. Rubbish. The only time blimmin' page 35 is ever going to be right is a Chinese menu. And I thought, this ain't right. People aren't boxes. They're not robots. They're individuals and they're unique. And, you know, everyone around me, oh, you can't do that, Ali. We need something that puts everyone in boxes so we can manage it, control it. And I thought, that's rubbish. So what happened was I wasn't working with kids. And then one lady I had been working with brought a young boy along. She literally walked into my room and she said, sort him out. He's angry like his dad. So mum just dropped him off and legged it, telling me he's angry like his dad. So I'm stood there with this young lad. And I don't work with children. I don't have children. I've got thousands now by default. And I thought, I've got an hour to kill. What do I do? So sort of niceties. Hello, I'm Ali. Who are you? He's like, I'm Peter. Hello, Peter. Why do you think your mum brought you here? Because I'm angry. How do you know you're angry? Everyone tells me I am. Who's everyone? Mum, dad, mum's friends. Right. Can you tell me anything else about yourself? I mean, he had football kit on. I thought, you know, we could get into a bit of a banter. He went, no, I'm just angry. And try as I might, I couldn't get anything out of him apart from I'm angry. Oh, bugger, this is going to be a long hour. And I don't know what come over me, but I thought, well, we're stuck here. I started tapping my foot and I said, do you know, I know when I'm getting angry because my foot taps. That means I'm a little bit angry. But if I get proper angry, I reckon that part of me, my angry part, shoots up my leg into my eyebrow because my eyebrow goes up. If that happens, get out of the way, mate. This kid's looking at me like I'm a nut job. You can see it. I said, what about you? How do you know when you're getting angry? And he went, I don't know, I just am. But you must know, I don't know. And I pushed his buttons a bit. And in the end, he clenched his fist and went, I don't know. Oh. And I just reached across, made like I was pulling something out of his fist, turned my back on him with my hand cupped and started talking to this thing in my hand that I called angry. And I literally said, oh, hello, Peter's angry. I went, oh, Peter, he is angry, isn't he? He always is angry. And I just kept talking to my hand. And this kid, you could see this kid, if he could have gone home then, he would have promised to be good forever. Just get away from me. I'm a nut job. So I started asking this thing in my hand why Peter was angry. So I separated it from Peter. And I really helped out the fact he was wearing football kits. So I said, are you making Peter angry because his mum makes you wear pink lycra? Peter out the side. No, it's not that. No, okay. Are you making Peter angry because he has to go to ballet lessons? No. I think I asked 3 or 4 really stupid blimmin' questions before Peter just yelled at me, he's angry because he doesn't want to be the big boy. It's like, blimey.
Oh, what a breakthrough.
In 20 minutes instead of 6 months, which is standard therapy. So I kept my head. I was real proud of myself. I kept my head because that was a breakthrough. So rather than turning to Peter, I kept talking to this thing in my hand. And I went, you don't want to be the big boy, little angry. What does that mean? And Peter explained that basically he's got a little brother with some additional needs. And every time someone comes to the house, all the focus is on little brother.
Right.
Mum's stressed out of her tree, which explained her behaviour.
Yeah.
And once too often, Pete had just gone, Mum, Mum. And Mum had said, Pete, I need you to be the big boy. Please, I'm busy. Now, we'll all say, well, that makes sense. Mum was busy and stressed. But what Peter heard was, I'm not loved. I'm not special. I'm not important.
What a genius way of dealing with that, just off the
cuff.
cuff.
Well, everything I do is off the cuff. It's a standard joke that if I hadn't been a therapist, I should have joined your ranks and been a stand-up comedian. Everything I do is off the cuff. But I could have left it there, and that was a hell of a breakthrough. But what I did, and this was in one session, 1 hour, not months and months and months and months, I just turned to Peter and I said, how can we help your angry feel better? And he came up with his own solution, which involved me talking to Mum because he didn't know how to, which I did. And she was mortified, as you can imagine.
Well, because nobody's doing anything on purpose. We're all just trying to do our best.
Absolutely. And all behaviour serves a purpose, you know. But a few weeks later, I was in a local school and Peter was there and he was sort of across the room from me. And I just went, you all right? Yeah, how's it going? And he went, yeah, no, that's all good. But he looked a bit down. So I said, Pete, you sure you're all right? And he went, well, Grandma's died. I was like, oh, no, here we go. I said, do we need to talk, mate? And he literally reached inside his chest, pulled whatever was in his chest out, and he went, no, I've had a chat with how I'm feeling, and he understands she's gone to heaven because she was poorly, and that's okay. See you later. And I thought,
oh my goodness,
we didn't deal with grief and pain, we dealt with anger, and yet he'd taken that one session with me,
already and gone.
And that's what's happened. So from then, in a nutshell, Ollie grew overnight. I had people coming in from all over the country to me in Cambridge. So I thought we need a few more therapists because this works and it's really powerful, and not just with kids, it works with adults. So we started training other therapists. That didn't work. Some of them were brilliant. Some of them shouldn't be therapists. They're in it for the wrong reason. They want to heal and fix. So then I had a mad idea that I wanted to train mums and dads and comedians and lawyers and police officers, and everyone said, you can't, they need to be therapists. And I thought, well, you know, about a year ago, I was blowing buildings up. If I can do it, there it began, the Ollie School. So everyone we train are just you and me. And we work with families around the country. We're now in schools, foster adoption. It's gone blimmin' mad, to be honest. And it's wonderful.
You're listening to Real Folk with me, Jo Burke. This would ordinarily be an advertising break. But as I don't yet have an advertiser, why not check out standingoncustard.com, where you can buy all 4 of my children's books, plus my adult comedy book about online dating, all delivered free and signed by me. Standingoncustard.com. Back to the show.
It's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And, you know, I've worked with some of your trainees before.
Worked miracles with them.
Oh, thank you. But it is an amazing thing because, again, it speaks to what I'm trying to do with these podcasts, in the fact that they're ordinary folk like me, you, that have signed up to this amazing concept that just, like you said, it works, it's simple. Anyone from any walk of life that wants to help can take a look at this structure.
Yeah, please find us.
Yeah.
I have a theory. I think sometimes things are purposely made overly complicated so that people don't even try to be part of it. And it's like a minefield that's purposely placed there to make sure only a few get through. Well, in certain things, I can imagine that's a good idea, brain surgery, stuff like that. But you're only a baby, Jo. But when I was a lot younger, if I had a bad back pain or toothache, I had to go to the GP and get a prescription for something like Panadol. We weren't trusted to medicate,
right.
Yeah? Now you can go to Boots. I want to do the same damn thing with therapy. Not the big stuff, bipolar, schizophrenia, but the rest of it. And what we're doing now is we're educating parents and children on how to control their emotions rather than be controlled by them, so that they don't need therapists. I'm trying to make us all unemployed. It's brilliant.
Like you said, you know, it would save so much therapy in adulthood, and save so many marriages and relationships and working relationships. And, you know, it's just such a good thing all round.
And within one generation, the kids that we're working with now, so we do intervention when the kids have got a problem. We do an awful lot of preventive work through the schools. And I have to say, respect schools. They've taken us on. Who am I? What is Ollie? But they've taken us on because it works. But within one generation, these kids are going to be parents themselves, and then they'll take over from us.
Yeah.
It's doable, but do you know, it's been a really interesting time. We've probably been busier than we've ever been because people are really struggling. The support services aren't there. They really aren't there. And I've been on the receiving end of that with some family members. It's really not there. And yet, you know, we are here. We are helping people by empowering them, not fixing them and making them dependent on a system that, to be honest, is letting everybody down.
Yeah.
And it's ignored. And yet more than ever right now, people are falling apart. I have a therapy room full of teachers. That'll shock some of your listeners. It's the number of times I hear, oh, bloody teachers have done this. These teachers are parents. They're like your brother, they're like your sister, like your mum. And they're in a situation with supposedly safe bubbles, which are not, if you look at what's actually going on. No. They're being asked to move mountains. They're being asked to break the class sizes down in a school that doesn't have the room to do that, or the staff to do it. They're going through damn hell. It's a mess.
Yeah, I agree. And there's the extra stress that just managing to be a teacher during lockdown. I mean, basically, my husband's a teacher and he did all of his classes online. Which we weren't set up to do, and none of them were. We don't have a proper space. Well, we do. It was my space. He stole my space, basically, which then had massive knock-on mental effects for me.
you two still together, right? I mean, I'm not a really good therapist.
Only just. We'll hang on in there. But no, it was really tough, really, really tough. Yeah, and
absolutely.
I suppose, I mean, thank goodness that there are people like yourself that are out there, but then not everybody can afford to go and see somebody, so that's very tricky. And that's where, these things should be available in schools and subsidized and provided.
And I can understand why it's not, because there are hundreds of people that train to be therapists and they're one-man bands. They're probably brilliant. I should imagine most of them are. But it's about being able to scale up to provide the service en masse. So I think one of the reasons that the government are not looking at what we're supposedly alternative therapy, now we're complementary, work with you, is can we scale up? Can we deliver? Are we measurable? Are we going to have the consistency? And I get that, and I get why that's been a problem. But, we're not the only ones out there that are scaling up, do have all those things in place, can deliver and prove it. And it's, what's the problem here? The only problem that I can see is that if we continue to do what we're doing, then any previous setups they've had with therapy that was taking forever and ever is going to have a hard time justifying its existence and its cost. And if we get to all the kids and teach them to control their emotions rather than be controlled by them, then they won't need antidepressants. And that might annoy, clean that up, a few big drug companies. It's like, come on, in this together? Then let's put the support in, for goodness sakes.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm always amazed actually how quickly people turn to drugs as an answer for things, because therapy, I think, is often considered a sort of last resort, and the first thing anyone gets when they're, I mean, I've had friends and even myself, I've suffered from depression over the years, and I've never taken antidepressants, but I have been offered them every single time.
And I have to say there's a time and a place. If somebody's really, really lost, then they serve the purpose of giving that person the opportunity to just have a level place for a little while to get their act together. But the problem is when, nobody's checking the medication or continually dishing it out. Now, I'm not medical, so I can't comment on this other than what I see in my therapy room. But, we're complementary therapists. We should be working with the NHS. Some people do need that little bit of help. But therapy, I think people have this view that it somehow makes you weak. If you need help, you're not coping on your own, that's not good enough. So they just want a tablet to take it away, a quick fix.
Yeah. But it's such a strange way that as humans we deal with that, because, if our car breaks down, we take it into a garage, no problem.
I think people see it as a weakness, especially blokes. I mean, but, big boys don't cry and all that. What a load of... the one thing we've all got in common, whether you're straight, gay, black, white or alien, we've all got emotions. And they're there for a damn good reason. But it would really help if we stopped calling it mental health and we started calling it what it is, emotional well-being. And it's okay if an emotion... Well, it would knock so many bloody walls down. I'm really lucky. I have blokes come to my therapy room which is huge because blokes really struggle to come forward when they're not coping so well because it's a weakness. And it's the funniest thing because they're big fellas with the tattoos, men's men. And they're like, well, I can't talk to the girls about this because that'll make me look like a bit of a wuss. And I can't talk to the lads because, that'll make me look real wussy if I've got mental health issues. But I can talk to you. And I often wonder, is that a compliment or not? But it is, because, if you've got stuff going on and you keep it inside, it can do some real damage. But if you go and talk to someone, you're not broken, you're not less a person, you're human. And all of us at some point in our life will have something come along that's too damn big. And if you try and fight it on your own with a stiff upper lip and big boys don't cry, it's going to end up messy. But it's the whole stigma, and we've got to destroy it. And again, I hope that's something we're doing. We're Ollie coaches, not therapists. Call ourselves coaches. We wear T-shirts, and we are what you see and what you get on the tin.
That's so interesting. And I think, do you know what? I hadn't even thought about that, because even up until today, I was still calling it mental health. And you're right. Emotional well-being is definitely what from now on shall be swapping that to, because it's so true. It is so true.
I still think half the blokes who have a problem with saying the word emotional, you go into a school and talk about emotions and all the boys look down.
Yeah.
Now, why?
Well, it's considered a negative, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but where have they learnt it from? The only reason that they look down is because somewhere along the line, that we're all born with no knowledge of this world. So everything we think and believe, we've learnt somewhere, and it's from our family, our environment. And that's it. We stay stuck in that belief about the world, or reality tunnel. And what we're doing in schools now is saying, I'm not saying that anyone in your world's wrong or that mum and dad are wrong. All I'm saying is it's okay to ask questions,
It's so heartwarming to hear that you're doing all of that. I think it's incredible, absolutely incredible. And if any listeners are interested in taking a look at your stuff yourself, what's the website called?
You do this to me because of my dyslexia. But
sorry,
I can't get this bit wrong. www.
So is it Ollie and his superpowers?
Yeah, it's www.ollieandhissuperpowers.com. And when you go to the website, it looks like it's for kids. We did that on purpose so that we could get to the parents that really need some support and help. They don't need fixing. They're not doing anything wrong. They're doing a brilliant bloody job with the tools they've got. All we want to do is not preach, not tell them they're doing it wrong, just give them a few more tools to make it easier for them.
Yeah, and that is exactly what you do, and you do it brilliantly.
Thank you.
And and so you're training up the next batch of coaches as we speak online.
Do you know, I was really concerned. So we put the whole thing online, and all of our Ollie courses are called Ollie School 1 through to whatever number. So Ollie School 6 are the first ones online, and they're halfway through. And I was like, oh, will it work? Will it work? We're not in the classroom. It won't be as good. They're blimmin' leaps and bounds ahead because they can watch and rewatch the videos, and we still do some classroom time with them. So we've got another one starting this weekend, Ollie 07, and then in January, Ollie 08. And, we are looking for more therapists, because the more of us out there, the more kids and families we can get to. And people say, do I need a degree? What's the pass criteria? And basically, if you can tell me why, I'll teach you how. And one more funny story, just to confirm what I mean by that. As we've got bigger, we've had to have all grown-up forms and stuff like that done, because we've turned into a proper company. Not me, they don't let me do it, Jo, because, as you know, I should be allowed out unsupervised. But we had a lady doing all of our documentation, and she came around, she said, Ali, I do need your help with this one. This is, we need a procedure for how you choose the new Ollie coaches, because I interview everybody before they join our school. It's got to get it right. They've got to be thinking the same way as us. And she said, a couple of A4 sheets will do. And I said, I'll do it now. And I just scribbled a note and gave it back to her. And she went, because I know? I went, yeah. I don't know, I do. Within minutes of speaking to someone, to say, we do interview them all on Zoom or face-to-face when we could. And I just know. There's something about them. They're thinking the same way we are. It's not about healing, fixing. It's not about being a demigod. It's about giving, supporting, and just wanting the best for someone, It's an incredibly worthy and brilliant thing to be able to do. And I suspect as well, the fact is that moving the course online, I think so many people have done online learning over that period as well. So I'm not surprised that you were sort of inundated with people and that it's worked for you, because it's a good way to learn, isn't it? It is. And as I said, I was really concerned, because I thought, well, if we're not face to face, But what we do is we keep the groups really small. So if we were in the classroom, we've had 25 people. But online, if you're looking at a screen, I can only see 14 people max and see them well enough to make sure that they're engaging and not being left behind. So we've shrunk the groups right down so that we can still offer that support one-to-one, so that we get everyone through at the right pace and the right time for them. And it's just as brilliant because they can go into the breakout rooms of these various platforms and work together. And then, as I say, in a few months' time, they get to be in the classroom together for the first time, which will be lovely. But the friendships that they're building from the experience of being on the course, so it's not just about changing a career and being an Ollie coach. You can't do the course without, I hate this word, going through the journey, but it really is.
A journey, yeah.
It really is. And
it is so true.
One of the best bits for me is watching, so I get them to do this thing. Day one, they write down what they believe about themselves and why they're here. And then they forget about it. And I give it back at the end of the course.
I think having seen some of your coaches, just even in the short time I'm with them, the difference it makes to people's confidence and to people's lives is huge. You can tell that everything they learn to pass on to parents, teachers or children, obviously, like you said, by osmosis, you're learning yourself. And so you become a better version of you, and you can see that. It's amazing.
But having you in the room with them, because again, for those that don't know what we're talking about, some of our coaches aren't naturally playful and flamboyant. They're a little bit reserved. I know it's in them, but we've got to pull it out. So what we do is we put them in the room for the day with Jo. She creates monsters.
I do. Lovely little ones.
Lovely little fairy ones, yes.
Lovely little playful monsters.
Honestly, everybody that's been through the time with you they're just amazingly, they've really grown. It's brilliant.
It's an absolute joy. I love doing it, and I miss doing it. I absolutely miss doing it. So we'll have to work something out, or hopefully we'll be able to get back into doing those sorts of things very shortly.
Yeah. But we've got them coming in from around the world. So at the moment, we've got a lady training with us from Iceland. She is absolutely gorgeous, school teacher from Iceland. And the only thing that will stop us going international, especially now we can train people online, is just licensing Ollie in each of the countries so we can make sure the brand stays clean and we're delivering what we set out to deliver. But yeah, it's, as I said, it was a hell of a storm, but it blew us to an island that we didn't know was there. So
out of some very... very huge nonsense in the world, some good things have come, which is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
That. Some very huge nonsense. So Jo, you're gorgeous.
Very huge nonsense that happened. I don't know what it's called. I can't remember. I'm trying not to think about it. I was wondering though, did you do, because obviously a lot of people, myself included, really struggled when it was completely locked down. Did you manage to help people online then?
Yeah, and again, that was strange because I'd always worked face-to-face. I'd had a couple of meetings online prior to all this COVID stuff, but to actually do therapy online was a whole new thing. So we had to adjust everything that we do because we're quite tactile. Can't be online, can you? So everything pretty well shut down for us because all our face-to-face work going into schools all stopped. But we do a lot of work with kids with additional needs, and through alternative provision, kids that weren't making it in school anyway, so are at home, and foster and adoptive kids. And if you suddenly cut off the support that you're giving them, and you cut it off at a time when the world just turns on its head and has a bit of a twizzle, then that's not good. So no, we kept going, we kept working with those kids, and I was astonished at how many agencies didn't, and they just went, oh no, COVID can't. Rubbish. There's always a way. So yeah, fortunately we kept going, and I've got a big hats off to Marley coaches. So did they. Bloody respect.
Well, the thing is, you can't switch off those services that's when they're most needed. It's ridiculous.
Well, apparently you can, but you don't. Yeah. My whole point is, just because it's always been that way, don't mean it has to be. Do you know?
No.
It's okay to grow and consider options. Don't be afraid of growth and change. Do sometimes it's the best thing.
I mean, it's a really famous thing, isn't it? The only certainty in life is change.
And death. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. Well done.
And taxes.
And taxes.
Yeah.
And all sorts of other things. So not just that thing at all.
No, but I get where you're going from. Sorry.
No, I know. No.
What have the Romans ever done for us, Jo?
It's just a scratch.
Sorry.
So what's next for you?
That's a damn good question. Well, there's some interesting stuff bubbling away behind the scenes that I can't divulge yet, but blimmin' heck, if that comes off, oh my lord. Ollie's just getting bigger and bigger and more recognition, so it's continuing to get more Ollie coaches on board so that we can support people wherever they are. Want to get a few more books out, and you know, ultimately my goal was always just to get Ollie to a wonderful point where I could just hand it over to the Ollie coaches that have been with me from day one and those coming up through the ranks, and go home and go fishing in Australia. But I can't do that at the moment. I'm not allowed to go there. They won't let me.
No. That sounds like a good plan.
It's a brilliant plan.
Although you might end up with just a hut in Australia and a fish finger or something.
Do you know, that would be fine. And I probably will, because where I go in Australia is absolutely a piece of heaven. And I go out fishing every single day, and there's dolphins. So literally in front of the house, there's the river mouth, and the sea's 2 minutes.
I've always wanted to swim with dolphins.
They're buggers, right? They're buggers. They're bad dolphins. Everyone thinks they're cute. They're not.
Is there such a thing?
Yes. I go out there, want to go fishing, okay? There's a whole damn river and a huge damn ocean. Where are the dolphins? Round my boat eating my fish.
Oh, I see.
Bad dolphins.
I'd like to jump in and swim with them, but I don't want to swim with dolphins in a captive. So I would love to go to wherever that is in Australia.
Well, when we move out there, you'll get an invite, Jo. But yeah, you probably could get in the water with them because they're so playful. It's lovely.
So that's the plan. Retire to Australia.
Yeah, you know, I'm not religious, and I say this a lot. I'm not religious. I don't know where this whole Ollie thing came from, but I think if there is something in the universe, it was right. Do you know what? The whole mental health, emotional well-being thing on the planet is buggered. It needs some help. So we need someone with a bit of an attitude who's too old and thick-skinned to care to drive a new idea. So they chose me. What a gift. I'm so honoured. But I always knew that I was only going to drive it so far, because it's always going to take new, fresh thinking. And the whole thing is everybody that joins us. So we've got GPs, we've got lawyers, we've got bus drivers, hairdryers, teachers, mum, we've got every walk of life. But between them, they've got the ideas to take Ollie into areas I hadn't even considered, and that's what will happen, and that's what needs to happen, because it can't be about any one person. It's about the model. So so I have no idea where Ollie's going next. I never do, really. It just happens.
But again, that's a good lesson in life, isn't it? Sometimes it's good not to know. Everyone sort of gets obsessed with knowing and planning, but sometimes it's good to free will a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, every time I try and plan something, because I think, you know, maybe I should be a bit grown up and take control, I hit a brick wall. So then I go, all right, all yours. And I hand it over to a stuffed toy called Ollie, and wonders happen. You know,
and it just works.
Speaks volumes, really. I can't do it, but a stuffed toy can.
So if you had any top tips for emotional well-being for our listeners out there, have you got a couple?
You know, when you get on an aeroplane and they do all that, you know, the exits are here and here, which is a giggle. Who the bugger's going to jump out of one of them at 30,000 feet? But that's by the by. But the oxygen mask dropped down, doesn't it? And it says, put yours on before you help anyone else. I think tip one, everybody. I'm watching mums and dads, teachers, our frontline staff, which is, you know, A&E, police, fire, people working in Morrison's and Tesco's are all bloody frontline, right? And they're doing all this, and they're putting themselves out there for other people, and they forget to take care of themselves. If you aren't in a good place, you can't take care of anyone else. So put your oxygen mask on first. Take time out for you, because you matter. And I guess the other thing is, you know, one of the reasons people are so strung out is because they're not in control at the minute. And when we feel out of control, we get anxious, we get strung out, you get sick, you get poorly, all hell breaks loose. So really simple exercise, and do this, right? Draw a circle on the ground, not very big, just big enough for your feet. And then draw another one round that and another one round that. In the centre one, write things I can control. In the next one, things I can sort of control. And in the outside one, things I have no blimmin' control over whatsoever. And just write everything that's bothering you right now down in one of those circles. And if it ain't in the first circle, what are you doing? If it's in the second one, make a decision. Can it come into the first one, or does it get shoved out to the third? You can only control you and yours. I've got people freaking, oh, she's not wearing a bloody mask. They're not. So what? Crack on. The only thing you can control is you and your environment. And, Boris keeps changing his mind and all. Who cares? The only person that can protect you and has ever been able to protect you, whether it's COVID or just getting through life, is you. So notice what you can control and focus on that. And anything you can't, let it go, because all it's going to do is run you out of oxygen.
It's just human nature that we do that. So many of us are sort of born worriers or overanalyze things.
It's a simple solution. Go and find an Ollie coach. There's loads of brilliant therapists out there. So if you are struggling and you're on your own, and I know that the NHS and the services we've depended on aren't coping at the moment. They're overstretched and it's leaving people alone and vulnerable. Please don't be. Just Google therapist, Google anything, contact us. If we can't help, we'll put you on to someone that can, but don't be on your own right now, and don't try and do it on your own. We are in this together, no matter how much people are trying to divide us up. We're in it together.
We are, and even if you feel desperately alone, you're not.
No.
There's people that are willing to help, so just ask. And that's a really key thing, because I think it is hard for people to ask.
No, more so than ever. We're in this together. And, we've got a common enemy, COVID, and a few others.
But if we've got each other's backs, then all's good.
That's it. You've got it covered.
It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, Ali.
And you, gorgeous lady.
I'm so glad that it's continued to work out, and that it hasn't stopped Ollie in any way, shape or form, because it's an important thing. And as we said, if anyone else wants to take a look into that, just check out Ollie and his Superpowers website and contact Ali.
Thanks for listening to Real Folk with me, Jo Burke.